Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new to my channel, hello, my name is Linda and I'm a product designer here in Toronto. For today's video, I'm going to talk about what does my UX resume look like and some tips and tricks for you guys as well. So before we get started, I do want to have a little quick disclaimer, and that is I am not an expert on resumes. I'm not telling you what to do and how you should do it. I'm just giving you the information that I have done with my resume to maybe help you guys as well. Since that is out of the way now, there are two things that I want to cover for today's video. Number one is what I included in my own resume, and second is what I think is the most important thing to include in your resume. So what did I include in my resume? Before I show you what my resume looks like at the moment, I'm going to pull up my previous resume over here to show you the before and after. In my previous resume, you can see that I'm highlighting my education experience the most here. Basically, the reason why I wanted to change and switch up my resume is because I wanted it to stand out a bit more in terms of design and just take out some useless information. Because I'm applying for design jobs, a lot of the information I had in my previous resume was very irrelevant, such as, my high school education information, and just kind of all my work experience in like retail, waitress, bartending, hostess. All of this was not necessary to show on my design resume, which is why I decided to revamp it and make a new one. Getting the previous resume out of the way, I will now show you what my resume looks like right now on the screen. Here you go. And as you can see, there is a big difference between my old and new one, and that is catering towards more of my design background. So in my current resume, there are 5 things I have included, and that is title, education, my toolkit, experience, and contact information. So the number one thing you see at the very top left is the title, and this should correspond to the job that you are looking for. So for example, you wouldn't have UX researcher if you're applying for a graphic design position, and vice versa. So this title is very important. You want this to, really highlight your resume, make it pop so you can stand out from the crowd, and make sure that it's tailored to the job you are applying for, like I said earlier. So if you move down right underneath the title, you'll see the education section, and you only want to put the most relevant education. No one's really going to care what high school or middle school you went to. In my case, I should probably specify what I majored in at my university that I went to. That way they can have a better sense of what I studied while I was there. And then if we move down to the bottom underneath education, you see the toolkit section, and this shows more of your technical skills you carry as a designer. So I separated mine into 4 different categories and wrote down what my skills are under each one. So as you can see under design, I talk about, being able to do strategy and vision presentations, ideation and brainstorming with Miro, wireframes and mockups with Sketch, graphics with Illustrator and Photoshop, design collaboration with Abstract, and design handoffs with Zeppelin. And then I do the same thing for prototyping, research, and developmental technologies. Now, if we go to the top right under experience, that is a section where you're going to be talking about all the relevant work experience that you've done as a designer. So in terms of listing them, I listed them from current to previous jobs, of course. You want to show the company name, position, date, and responsibilities in order. So as you can see, under known, I have the company name, my position, the start date and end date, and kind of all the different responsibilities that I had while I was working there. And you would just do the same thing for every other company that you've worked at. Last but not least, at the very top right, I show my contact information and online portfolio site. This shows that they can see more of my work somewhere else other than my resume. So now that I went through my resume and kind of show you what I have on there, I want to talk about what is the most important things to include in your resume. Number one thing is highlighting your title. It's very important. So they're going to be going through hundreds of applications, and I've seen this in my previous job where even the people who go through applications tell me that they get hundreds to 200s, even thousands of applications, and they don't have time to be thoroughly going through each one. So you need your resume to stand out, and the best way that I think that is subtle and minimal to do so is just highlighting your title of who you are applying for this position. So as you can see from my resume, I highlighted product designer in blue, so it's different from everything else on my resume. So the second thing is get into specifics on your toolkit. So this is really important if you do it right. And as you can see on my resume, I don't just state that I create wireframes, I do prototyping, I brainstorm, I ideate. I talk about how I actually do that. So for an example, I prototype with InVision. I ideate and brainstorm on Miro. I, work with devs and hand off through Zeppelin, etc. So that's a really good way to kind of show your skill set in terms of what type of tools you actually use. Number 3. Try to be specific on your responsibilities for your experience. So talking about not only your responsibilities, but the actual projects that you created during your time there is a great way to show what you've done with the company and how you've impacted the company itself. Just for an example, to show you my resume, under known, I have that I redesigned their marketing website. So it just shows that I was actually working on a real project, and I was able to deliver that. So I don't have this on my resume anymore, but the fourth thing that I think is really important if you don't have work experience is adding a project section to the resume. So this is a really great way to not only fill the space on your resume, but to show what skills and what things that you've done in your project that sets you apart from other new designers. You can also just format this the exact same way I did with the experience, section it projects, and then underneath that format and in the same way as you would with a real work experience. So you would name what the project was, maybe who you worked on it with, the time frame of how long it took, and then basically the design process and the outcomes of the actual project itself. I just want to bring up again that I am not an expert on creating amazing, beautiful, perfect resume. Again, I'm just showing you guys what my resume looks like and what has helped me get a job. But please feel free to call me out if I'm wrong in something, or even just let me know how I can improve my own resume as well. I love to hear from you guys. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video on what my resume looks like and kind of tips on how you guys can create your own resume. If you guys liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!